which he probably There are those among us who have cherished an unexpected joy in the past week. May their gladness be celebrated. As we commit to continue our free and responsible search for truth, may we covenant to honor the many paths that have led us to this community. Please join us in our opening hymn, Spirit of Life. We will sing through it 3 times.
Come to me, come to please join me in the affirmation of faith? Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament. Service is its prayer. And this is our covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. You will all be unmuted now so that you can say hello and good morning to all your neighbors, everyone on the screen.
Hello.
Hello, everyone.
Good morning, everyone.
Good
Hello.
to see
everyone.
you all.
Soul's
Thanks
Day.
for coming to church.
Good morning,
Nice to be here.
Morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
From all that dwell below the sky, then songs of hope and faith arise. Then peace, goodwill on earth be sown through every land and every tongue.
This is our service of remembrance. Our reading is We Need One Another by George E. Odell. We need one another when we mourn and would be comforted. We need one another when we are in trouble and afraid. We need one another when we are in despair, in temptation, and need to be recalled to our best selves again. We need one another when we would accomplish some great purpose and cannot do it alone. We need one another in the hour of success when we look for someone to share our triumphs. We need one another in the hour of defeat, when with encouragement we might endure and stand again. We need one another when we come to die and would have gentle hands prepare us for the journey. All our lives we are in need, and others are in need of us. What I have found in my own life and in my ministries is that usually that which we fear most is our own deaths, and that in those deaths and in the griefs and the deaths of others, that thing we fear the most is our loss of immediate relationship. It is the loss of that we, which in part defines who we are. There's also a fear of losing any hope of changing that relationship. The grief may be particularly poignant for those of us from unhealthy families where we had not yet come to terms with the reality that someone, our parent, our sibling, is not going to meet our needs. This is true whether the other person is alive or dead, but in death we are forced to confront this reality more directly. However, in this we may in fact be given a gift. While we cannot get our needs met by those who have gone, we can begin to meet them ourselves and with others in healthier ways. A source of hope for many of us is that even with the death of a loved one, we can change that relationship by changing ourselves and how we relate to their interior presence in our lives. As Unitarians and Universalists, we reject the misconceptions of humanity and existence as being fallen or depraved in our basic natures. Instead, we embrace the idea and have faith in an ultimately optimistic universe. We have reflected that in the first principle of our covenant, the inherent worth and dignity of every person. While we often interpret that phrase as a highly individualistic statement, historically, our Universalist forebears saw it as a statement not about an individual, but about all individuals. If all are worthy, then the fate is one, is the fate of all. We're all in this together. As Unitarian Universalists, we uphold the democratic process by which equality, justice, and compassion are manifest in our relationships with each other and the world, and this includes death. As John Donne wrote about death, it comes equally to us all and makes us all equal when it comes. Death is an ultimate act of democracy in this world. What we believe about death affects the way that we live our lives. The only promise of any sacred thing is the promise of a more abundant life, says my colleague Kendall Gibbons. If our understanding of death helps us to be healthier, more liberated, engaged, and fulfilled as persons and communities, then it is to be cherished. But if an understanding of death and an afterlife limits our willingness and our ability to love or be kind, if it makes us afraid of ourselves and others, if it threatens the very bonds of our solidarity with each other and all that is, then it is not an afterlife worth squandering our precious lives for. We need one another in life and in death, and we are not cut off from each other even after death. Through our seventh principle of the interconnected web of all existence of which we are a part, we affirm this reality. No matter how we view death and an afterlife, we are always connected to each other, whether this connection is through our atomic structures as part of the cycles of nature, or through the survival of the spirit in heaven of all souls, or through some form of reincarnation, or many others that we can explore and speculate on from this side of the event horizon of death. We are a part of a world community stretching backwards and forwards through the generations. We die not alone, we live not alone. We exist together and not alone. However we understand death and whatever exists beyond its mysteries, we are each other's, and in this life and for eternity. And our liturgist will lead us now.
When Death Comes by Kendall Gibbons. When death comes suddenly, taking just one friend, or in a magnitude beyond our comprehension, in horror and disbelief we remember.
When bright and innocent lives are cut short without warning or mercy, in agony and outrage we remember.
When a long life closes with honor and thankfulness, in reluctant submission and gratitude we remember.
When bereavement and loss seem to be everywhere we turn, and the world goes dark, in emptiness and pain we remember.
When help and comfort must be given to the afflicted, and the work of our hands is needed, in duty and sacrifice we remember.
When arrangements must be made, and the severed threads bound up, in ritual and custom we remember.
When it feels that nothing matters, and life as it once was seems distant and unreal, in sorrow and numbness we remember.
When grief comes upon us in waves, and the helpless heart overflows, in sadness and aching tears we remember.
When words at last become meaningless, and the only peace lies inward, in silence and solitude we remember.
When communities come together and the hurt is shared, in mutual comfort and consolation we remember.
When a strain of music or a familiar image brings a gentle, wistful smile, in tenderness and nostalgia, we remember.
When the spirit of life beckons us to lift our eyes to all that remains true and good, in dedication and trust, we remember.
When the lessons of mutual help and understanding taught by tragedy live on in us to bless the world, in love and kinship, we remember.
When we come to honor those we have lost by learning to cherish more dearly those around us, in generosity and gratitude, we remember.
At this time, we recall those who are our beloved dead, those who have left us in the last year or even in many years past. We invite you to say either into the presence of your own space or type into the chat box to share with others the names of those who you consider to be among your beloved dead and those who have touched you in your life who have now gone from us. Then we will enter into a moment of silence, and some photos will be shared also online. Let us now enter into this time of reflection and celebration of our beloved dead.
We sat down and wept on these islands. We remember these islands. The waters on Babylon. We sat down and wept on these islands. We remember these islands.
Now we enter into our service of healing. Our message is from Leslie Takahashi. She says, "We return again and again to the season of forgiveness. And each time we come bearing gifts, to a grudge to relinquish, a hope that has bloated and distorted, a glancing word that has wounded. Each time we walk the road towards forgiveness, we mutter that we have been here before. When will we remember that forgiveness is not so much an act as an attitude, not so much a duty as a love that we give ourselves as part of the ever unfolding of new beginning? We're moving. We are moving. We're moving in the midst of one of those times of year when holidays comes in bunches. Yesterday was Halloween. Diwali was recently. Thanksgiving is coming up. We have Yuletide season coming up, Hanukkah, Christmas, New Year's. Some of us here in Illinois have schools that are opening partially again for the kids. And oh yes, we have an election in 2 days. And I hope you voted. If you haven't and need help, please ask for it. In the pursuit of power or access to power, many officials, candidates, and supporters have been acting very badly. Many doing things we can only hope that they will regret later. After the dust settles, we, the citizenry, are actively asked for our individual and collective forgiveness and some form of reconciliation, despite their various transgressions. Whether we forgive them is our own personal choice. And this is the case in the rest of our lives as well. So what is entailed in forgiveness and reconciliation? And then how might we apply those to our own lives? The word forgive is usually defined as to give up resentment of or claim to requital for some offense. To forgive is to cease to feel resentment against an offender or offense. Forgiving is an allowing of room for error or mistakes. So part of forgiveness is a recognition of our individual and collective fallibility. One of the reasons I think small children are among our best teachers is because they tend to ask very basic questions, such as who, what, where, when, how, and why. Asking why in particular is important because it points to our motivation or our need for motivation in our actions. So why should we forgive? Rabbi Harold Kirshner, author of the best-selling book, How Good Do We Have to Be, offers that one reason we may choose not to be forgiving is that it gives us a feeling of power over someone we may otherwise feel powerless with. Kushner says that holding on to grievances against another tends to do two things in our lives. First, they estrange us from other people, and that in turn can become a habit. Secondly, holding grudges conditions us to think of ourselves as victims rather than as active participants in our own lives. Not forgiving, in fact, gives away our power to move past the actions or person which we are enmeshed with. Forgiveness is therefore an act of personal liberation and empowerment, more for the forgiver than for the forgiven. So in forgiving, we choose health and happiness over righteousness. Now, let me be very clear that all this talk about forgiveness is not about forgive and forget, or about condoning what we or someone else has done. It is about moving beyond suffering towards a place of healing. For us as religious liberals, as Unitarian Universalists, the consequences of not forgiving are twofold. First, it does all the things which Rabbi Kirshner says, that is, it gives away our power and turns us into victims, which in turn allows us to negate or ignore ourselves as inherently worthy beings. In not forgiving, we in turn are not able to fully honor ourselves as precious parts of the holiness of the universe. And secondly, we are less able to honor the sacredness of others, and not just those who have transgressed against us. No matter how indifferent or depraved another person's actions, that person is not devoid of worth. Now, sometimes that's hard to believe in these days, but we are obligated to remember and honor this reality if we wish to claim the same for ourselves.